Have you heard of the crazy story about the author who didn't speak a word for 5 years in order to read? Today I'm going to tell you about the crazy life story of Maya Angelou, the American poet and writer. She was born in 1928 in Missouri. Very early on, her parents divorced. She is sent to live with her maternal grandmother in Arkansas. And at the age of 8, she is sexually assaulted by her mother's boyfriend. She tells her brother, the brother tells the family, the guy is sentenced to like a day in jail and is immediately murdered. Maya Angelou always thought that it was because she spoke that this guy died. She makes a vow of silence. She doesn't speak for 5 years, and all she does is read books. She's reading Edgar Allan Poe, Charles Dickens, William Shakespeare, and also black female authors like Anne Spencer, who are part of the Harlem Renaissance movement. At the age of 16, she moves to San Francisco, where she becomes the first black streetcar conductor. At 17, she becomes a single mother and then becomes a sex worker. In 1951, she gets married to a guy called Tosh Angelos, whose last name she adopts and slightly tweaks as she embarks on a career to become a dancer when she meets the world-class choreographer Alvin Ailey, joins a tour of a dance production touring Europe for Porgy and Bess, and eventually becomes a calypso dancer and performs on Broadway and has an album where she's composing calypso music. In 1960, she meets Martin Luther King, who gets her into the civil rights movement, and she starts becoming active. At that time, she moves to Cairo, where she becomes an editor of the Arab Observer. She's there with her son. They move to Accra in Ghana, where she becomes a university administrator and works for the National Theater. At that point, she meets Malcolm X, who lures her back to the US to get involved again in civil rights, but he gets assassinated. So for the next 3 years, she's writing poetry until she meets Martin Luther King again. He tells her to organize a march for him, but he's immediately assassinated. And so the following year, she decides to write her autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and this becomes a mega bestseller because it deals with trauma and identity and all her crazy experiences. For the following decades, she's writing poetry and plays and songs for songwriters like Roberta Flack. She stars in the hit TV series Roots. She becomes friends in 1980 with a young Baltimore news lady called Oprah Winfrey, with whom she develops a super deep relationship of mentor and mentee. In 1993, she's called up by Bill Clinton, who asks her to write a poem for his inauguration, which she reads out on the day. That poem earns a Grammy Award. Then she directs a movie with Wesley Snipes, and then collaborates on an R&B album with Ashford and Simpson. At this point, she's also a university professor. She's teaching philosophy and theater and the arts. And in 2013, at age 85, she publishes the 7th volume of her autobiography, because that's how crazy her life has been. And the following year, she dies. No one can say she didn't leave a completely full and productive and amazing life as an author.